Alright, Pikmin 2, let's go. Hold up though. Put your left foot in, take your left foot out. So there I was, 3 years ago, a big boy making big plans to do 2 series of 3 videos each at the same time. One about Resident Evil and one about Pikmin. Resident Evil, after many years and many distractions, finally got done with it. Pikmin? Dropped off after the first. Except here's the deal, in the time between the start of that series and today, they literally built and marketed and published a new Resident Evil game. And my sister got it for me. Crap. But more importantly, the general public would agree, my presentation style and aesthetic have changed drastically, monstrously. So in my current state, wanting to finally explain to you bozos why Pikmin 2 is one of my favorite games ever, I'm caught in a pickle. Tickle tickle. Not only am I making a sequel to a 3-year-old video in an entirely different format and age, but the video in particular that I want to follow up is probably the worst thing not unlisted from this channel. It's bad, it's full of shit, it's not serious, it malfunctions at a heroic level. So where we go from here, boss? How I'm gonna go, what I'm gonna do, who I'm gonna what? All very good questions. Shut up. Today we start fresh, clean the slate. We summarize, we remake, we reimagine, remaster. Folks, today I present to you my video about Pikmin 1, Reimagineered. Ladies and gentlemen, before getting into Pikmin 2, let me tell you 4 things I think you need to know about Pikmin 1. First, Pikmin 1 was a game second to being a tech demo. The tech behind it was originally made for a presentation in 2000 and later goofed around with until they managed to make a game out of it. See, the thing is, games are socio-technical systems. Back in the years surrounding the new millennium, hardware updates across console generations had much more of an impact on the sorts of things you could run on them. A best-case N64 with the expansion pack was greatly outclassed in terms of system memory by the out-of-the-box GameCube's 43 megs, give or take a few on chips. This thing upped the memory by well over 540%. Count in much faster CPUs and GPUs and you've got yourself the sort of thing that, if you'd never worked with it before, you couldn't just start by making games on it. You needed to build and run all sorts of experiments first. But of course, you also didn't want to have all of that experimentation time wasted or have all of the artifacts produced during it wasted. That's why this little Mario showpiece reportedly has had itself ripped apart and incorporated into just about every first-party game on the GameCube. Pikmin started as a big experiment people made to see how far they could push the hardware. It started as a graphics project, not a game. People working on it had no idea what direction they were going with it for a very long time. To say it had a typical development for a game would be wrong. To say it had a mostly atypical one would be correct. More memory meant you could store more information about things, more characters, more animations, higher quality textures, etc. Faster processors meant you could actually process and display those many more things on screen at a certain frame rate. It also meant you could do more things at once, which I put emphasis on for a specific reason. Something I said but didn't elaborate enough on in the original video was about threads. I said since there could be a maximum of 100 Pikmin on screen at once, that the game used at least 100 threads for them. Definitely more, but it's just a fun number to throw out. Now, in games, no matter how much it might look like things are happening at the same time, they never really are, unless they're running on a parallel computer, but no consoles are able to run in parallel, right? But no, so threading is actually a sequential activity. Multiple process threads come to the processor, and it works on each of them for a bit of time until moving on to the next. Now, evidently, you give a slow processor too many threads, and depending on how the game is optimized, you'll see things start to slow down. But at the same time, given a faster processor, you can give more threads to it, and it'll be able to keep up that impression that all of these things are happening all at once 30 times per second. Memory and processing power. These were the new key features of the GameCube that its launch titles needed to sell to consumers, and that's why Pikmin is the way it is. Pikmin ticks all the boxes they had. It's a gorgeous game that takes advantage of greater memory to load larger textures and more detailed models and animations, and equally as important, it had a lot of things happening in its world that the computer could prove to its users that it could handle. Pikmin was meant to be the sort of game that showed people what sorts of limits the GameCube could reach, and it pulled it off, though some would say at the expense of not really always feeling like a finished game, or like a fully realized game. Second, while Pikmin was unique and interesting and quirky and cool, it lacked some serious polish. Playing on the Wii version allowed me to avoid what are probably some of the jankiest game controls known to man. The game also didn't really have a distinct genre. It wasn't really an RTS and it wasn't really an action-adventure game either, but for some reason it presented itself like an arcade-like experience. This was remedied on the Wii by allowing players to revisit previous days to improve their score, but in the original game you only had one shot to beat it. The main game was all about collecting as many ship parts as possible within a 30-day time limit and amassing a great score at the end. Yes, this sort of idea works on a smaller scale at arcades, but there's a reason you'll never find a real-time strategy or action-adventure game at an arcade, because these are experiences that take more time and thought and persist player progress. Besides, this was a console game. It was a single-player mode of a console game that people play on a couch with a controller in their lap. Why is there even a high score at the end? Who's it meant for? Just myself? Again, it's pretty clear that a lot of these decisions were made in a time where direction wasn't clear. If I had to guess, I'd say they decided to make it timed because they realized that without time against you, there was no way to lose. Look, it's still an okay game. I love it. It's fun to do a quick playthrough every couple of years. It's the sort of game you can run through in a weekend, but its structure is just not very good. It's not fun to replay multiple times in a row to perfect a strat and get a faster time. It's too long, and its hybrid RTS/action gameplay isn't compatible with that sort of experience anyways. Third, forgetting the time limit though, one of the coolest results of the mixture of strategy and action manifested itself in the way that Pikmin were basically your health. Now, unlike RTS games, Pikmin didn't give you control of an all-seeing camera, they gave you control of a dude, but unlike an action game, that dude's health didn't really actually matter, at all. It had no impact on how you played the game. In fact, for a long time I forgot it even existed and just assumed you had infinite health. The real health in the game was these dudes, and interestingly enough, they were also your weapon. Your Pikmin count was indicative of how you'd play the game. If you had many, you'd be able to afford to rush enemies and take a few losses. If you had less, you'd need to be cautious and either go back to collect or grow more Pikmin, or just be really careful. So what the game did really well was force you at points to divide your health up. Growing more Pikmin was done by sending some back to base with food or dead enemies, except doing that meant those Pikmin sent would stay at the base, so increasing your global Pikmin count reduced your local count, essentially temporarily weakening you. Same for certain puzzles, which involved leaving groups of Pikmin in places to either slowly knock away at walls or construct bridges. You could throw all of your remaining Pikmin at it to get the job done as quickly as possible, or you could divide your group and leave only some of them there, taking the rest with you to multitask, basically temporarily reducing your health until later picking them back up. The game saw you constantly walking into situations with massive groups of Pikmin and leaving later with only a few, either from sustained losses or from voluntary multitasking, and that was super cool. That's one of the reasons Pikmin is so unique. There's the strategy and action, but there's also the adventure elements too, the puzzles whose solutions leave you with less and less active Pikmin by your side. Pikmin is many things, but most of all, it's unique. And finally, fourth, the last thing I think you should know about Pikmin is just how thick its atmosphere was. It's crazy to feel this obligation to say that this dumbass looking dude is probably one of the most well-written characters in gaming. While the design of the game's main playable character and little helpers might seem like it's going for something a bit more jovial, Olimar's journal entries and flavor text all over the game set this kind of ridiculous dark tone. Olimar is scared, he's depressed, he's worried that he'll die on an alien planet and never see his kids again. He gets distressed when he watches his Pikmin die, he feels guilt for failing them, but he's also super curious about this mysterious world he finds himself in and the creatures that inhabit it. The music sometimes can pass as cheerful, but other times it's just moody and foreboding. Again, gotta point out that none of this jives with the game's main time trial challenge, but it's as good as it gets. Olimar's journal entries are introspective, and as many of them are triggered by player actions during the days, the player is always in this immersive sort of state of self-reflection. It's a good loop. Every day you do something, make some progress, learn something new, find a new thing to do for the next day, reflect briefly on the day just passed, and then continue. Pikmin is just... It's just really good. So Pikmin 2? Woof, gonna stop you right there. I'm now gonna start working on that. I have an idea as to how I'd like to tackle it. Pikmin 2 addresses basically all of Pikmin 1's issues, but there's one dungeon. Pikmin 2 has dungeons, but there's one dungeon that I think shows Pikmin at its peak performance, at the best it can possibly be as a game. It takes the most advantage of the game's structure and design and atmosphere to make something super, super cool. Definitely not something I would call enjoyable, but holy crap, it's certainly an amazing time. Anyways, with all that said, thanks for coming to this recap, friends, and see you all around. Except the video doesn't end just there. See, the whole format, the change of my videos, and the whole aesthetic change and the style change isn't the only change to my video editing and making and producing process that's happened in between the time that I started the series and now. I'm running out of hard drive space. Now, I realize it's mostly because of myself. I try really hard not to delete game footage because you never know when it's going to be useful. It's proven to be a very good thing to do. Oh, sorry for this lamp, by the way. I know it's ugly as crap. It's not mine. It came with the place. We don't have the heart to get rid of it. But yeah, I am at a point where I basically need to get an external hard drive if I want to continue this hobby. Oof. I don't want to make this a big deal. I originally had an idea to do this in a really, really funny way, but I think I'm just gonna kind of pop it out, and that's it. Basically, I've had a Patreon page for a while, and I just made it public. Wow. Now, like I've said many times before, I'm not gonna stop this. I need an external hard drive to start storing video footage the way I want to do things, right? I'm gonna need that. I'm gonna get that regardless of anybody supporting me or not. I'm gonna do that. But I'm at a point where, you know, I'm buying microphones, I'm buying a hard drive to store footage. I'm probably gonna have to update a computer at some point so that I get something better to edit on. Never know. But I'm starting to build costs associated with this hobby, and you know, I feel like I'm inputting more than I'm outputting right now. Or maybe I'm, depending on how you want to word that, you could I'm outputting more than I'm getting in, maybe? I don't know. But yeah, don't feel obligated to do anything. I've talked about many times, I think the coolest thing I do that technically I get paid for just because, like, I have to, but I think the coolest thing I do is the shirts. For those of you who don't know, I make one shirt design that I release on Spreadshirt and Redbubble. You can find it on my website, lambhoot.com/swag. SWAG. There are links to those two shops, but I release one shirt design per video, and it's a tie-in, it's a reference to some joke from the video or something like that, you know? So that's always cool, because it's really cool to see people like wearing these stupid designs that I've mostly made for myself, because I literally own every single one. I'm wearing one right now, but yeah, that's like the coolest thing. But I used to have different opinions on this sort of thing, but I'm realizing more and more that, like, especially now that I'm done school, like when I was in school, video making was like a pure hobby, but now that I'm done with school and like it's real life now, like it's real life, I'm realizing that there's work, and then there's this hobby which is it's really just work. It's not, I mean, yes, it's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of, like, it's a lot of effort. It's a lot of effort, and it's, again, now starting to cost something. So, all that being said, I have this thing up. Basically, if you don't want to get a shirt, because yes, shirts are expensive, and I do, like, I basically make as much on a t-shirt sale as I would for, like, someone paying me $1 on Patreon. So, so I realize it kind of sucks for someone to pay like $20 for a shirt, and then I'm not getting much of it. So, if this is a different avenue for you that you're interested in, again, not forcing you. I think I have it set to per creation. I'm not really sure. I have one tier list, and the reward is to put people's names in video at the end of the video, which I guess I'll have to figure out a way to do that for the next one, maybe? But yeah, that's it. Also, if I support you on Patreon, don't drop me there, because, you know, YouTube MySpace and I'll Google your Yahoo, if you know what I'm saying. Not the other way around. And that's it. Anyways, and I want to bring that up because the thing is, I need to get this hard drive before I start Pikmin 2, because I'm going to record a full playthrough of Pikmin 2, and I realized at this moment that I don't have the storage to do that. I need to solve this problem first, so that's what I'm going to be doing. Anyways, I guess technically this is an end screen. I don't know. I'm not going to put it in the end screen box, but that's it. Anyways, see you guys around. Bye.